I'm here with Professor Fred Turner, communication professor at Stanford University. And tell me what you're doing at this magnificent location on top of this incredible vista, Professor Turner.
I am a very lucky fellow at the Center for Advanced Study in the Behavioral Sciences. And I'm here for a year working on a new book.
Well, your last book, From Counterculture to Cyberculture, garnered so much attention and so many fantastic reviews.
Actually, let's go in this door. That sounds...
Well, it's certainly a must-read for anybody who wants to understand the evolution of the internet.
Right there behind you there. You know, I think that one of the fun things about this book, and one of the things I'm very aware of, is that it happened at the intersection of the counterculture and tech culture, and I think people were very alert to that. And I very much think ValleyZen is right in the middle of the same intersection, or one very similar to it, where you know, you've got your finger on Zen and technology culture and their interrelation in a way that should be very appealing, and I think that partly explains why the site has taken off the way it has. I think that the spirit of Zen, or a spirit of Zen, might be the spirit of immediacy, of playfulness, and of the importance of experience, as opposed to sort of reasoning, planning, ruminating. This valley, as far as I can tell, is all about experience, about moving quickly, about being playful, and most of all about building things that themselves generate new experiences. You know, when I think about Zen and Zen practice, I think about Zen as a practice, not just as a set of ideas codified in books. And people out here, you know, may write books, but they also make things that make new experiences. And to that extent, I think they have a Zen spirit.
So a lot of this is surprising, it's counterintuitive, the way that a lot of these opposites are intertwined. In a way, that's very Zen as well, wouldn't you say?
I think I would, absolutely, yeah. The other thing that's very Zen is that many of the players are themselves either practitioners or think partners with Zen. You know, many of them from the 40s and 50s onward were looking for ways to collaborate with one another in non-hierarchical manners. And many became involved in the San Francisco Zen Center, for example, and its offshoots. Zen provided a kind of an idea reservoir and a practice reservoir for a number of these folks as they sought alternatives to hierarchical forms of power.
The way you talk about Ken Kesey as being not a leader, but a non-navigator.
My understanding with Zen is that in Zen, the negation of power in that way is designed to help a person become more aware of who and where they are at a given moment. It's an awareness practice. For Kesey, it was an awareness practice turned toward a political end. During the time when he was traveling around on the bus, this is 65, I believe, 65, 66, the idea of an authoritarian, even hierarchical way of doing power is deeply discredited. The Vietnam War is getting underway. We're only 20 years out from World War II. It's a deeply discredited idea. So the kind of negation of power that's common to Zen was a way of organizing activity in a way that didn't resonate with the Vietnam War or World War II. It was in fact a different way. It did resonate, though I don't think Kesey knew this, Brand did, with cybernetics and with the idea of a systems approach to collaboration and non-authoritative modes of organizing and ordering. You know, it's really funny. Kesey used to use a spinner. You know, it was great. He would turn over authority within his group. He'd pull out a spinner, gather everyone in a circle and say, okay, we'll spin the spinner. Whoever it points to is in charge for the next 30 minutes. Boom, they'd spin the spinner, someone would be in charge. But underneath that, everybody knew that the money for that adventure was coming from Kesey.
He was financing.
That's right, that's right. And I actually think there's an analogy there. To the extent that the mode of power that he uses is Zen-like, it's terrific. But the kind of awareness that he promoted was an awareness that included an acknowledgement of his own power. And some of that goes on in this valley as well.
And he also spoke in parables and aphorisms and riddles.
Kesey inherited what I understand to be a beat tradition of Zen. I mean, as I understand it, he knew the beats, he knew Kerouac, he knew Ginsberg, and he really had a feel for their turn to Zen in the late 50s as a practice to escape kind of mainstream America. For me, looking sort of forward from that moment rather than backward, I think it was a turn to a kind of leadership through character and leadership through style, as distinct from a more bureaucratic form of leadership by authority and rule. And that's a pretty interesting shift, and I think it's a really important cultural shift. You know, the 60s are a time when wholesale American elites, particularly younger American elites, turn toward the self as the basis of authority, the basis of government, and the basis of the good community. And koans are a technique for enhancing the self's awareness of its world, and for the Zen master to the Zen student, a technique for reminding the student who's the master. And Kizi was adept at both. And this is the library. I get a big kick out of the library. Oh, I've got to unlock it. Give me 2 secs here.
Unlocking knowledge.
Well, at least the library. And as you come in, you can see that, you know, all of the books from here on down were actually started or written here at the center. So Stuart Brand said something that, in the course of my interviews with him, that I have really clung to. He said, back east, if you want to have an intellectual influence, you write a book. Out here, you can write a book. People write books. But you might want to make something. And I think that, in part because of its exposure to Zen and its exposure to Eastern philosophy and its exposure to beat and hippie culture, this area values experience and values machines that make experiences very differently than other areas might. You can be an intellectual out here and make technology. That's a neat thing.
This is a historic moment for the moment.
And towards Satori.
And towards Satori. Thank you very much.
No, so I think that ValleyZen has found a sweet spot at the intersection of the Zen countercultural side of the valley and the tech development innovation side of the valley. It's a pretty nice place to be, and I think it accounts for some of the early popularity of the site.
Thank you.